Good night, everybody. Hope everybody having a wonderful night. I said I was going to do this lesson probably about 2 weeks ago, but I finally had a chance to do it so I can get this out to the people just to let y'all know. And yes, you read the title right. Mermaids are real. They're definitely real. For those of you who think that these restaurants and these fancy places are just putting up images just for the, I guess you can say just for the hell of it, they're not doing it because it's an image that they like or whatever the case. So I'm just going to just stick to just the Starbucks. And I said that I was going to expose this so that way people can understand that the constructs and everything that was built in America was all the foundation of Satan, and it's all worshipped by Satan. You're going to find out wholeheartedly that these restaurants, Starbucks, McDonald's, all these things are worshipped by Satan. They're the images and all that stuff. So now, before I get into the mermaids, you have to have an idea or where did the mermaids come from. One moment. I'm sorry about that. So I was going into the image of the Starbucks. So I'm going to break this down wholeheartedly so that way there will be no discrepancies on whether or not these people are actually worshiping these idols. Because if it was a true if it was a true construct of the Most High God, or higher, or shalt, or higher, there will be no images. It will be just a name. And that's in the commandments. So let me get that commandment first. So therefore, we can have a potent foundation of where we stand at. Because when you read the 10 Commandments, the 10 Commandments is a base foundation on whether or not you're following Satan or if you're following the Most High God, I am that I am. So let me break this down, and then I'm going to go into all the extra text. So therefore you can have all the information. There will be, I won't leave anything out. Let's start with Exodus 20. So therefore everybody, I have to read this and give understanding as if I was talking to somebody that never heard this information before. So I'm going to start with Exodus 20. So therefore, we can have a common foundation on where we need to stand. Because Satan is very clever. When you look at the commandments, let me read it. I'm at Exodus chapter 20. And I'm at verse 4. And it reads, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth." So now the Most High God gave us clear instructions on what not to serve. Let me read. It says, "Thou shalt not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." So the reason why I went to Exodus 20 is because he said, "Thou shalt not worship any other image. Thou shalt not worship any graven image." So why did he say underneath the waters and underneath the earth? Why did he say that? Because you got to understand that man had an agenda back then. They were serving the Most High God before Genesis, the 6th chapter. But something happened. I'm going to give an overview of that, because that's a whole different lesson. But I'm just going to stick to just the main topic of just the mermaids and how that came to be, so we can have an understanding. So just to fast forward to man-made time, they take images of what the Most High said in Exodus 20 verse 4 and 5. Let me get a precept of what I mean by that, because they don't want to give credit to the Most High God. They want to give credit to the thing that He created instead of the Creator. The Most High did not create man for that. I'm in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. And it reads, "Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of God." Now, when they say ignorant of God, that's talking about they don't know the ways of the Most High God. They don't understand the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High God, the true God. They don't understand that. Let me read. Then it say, "And could not out of the good things that are seen know Him that is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster." So he's saying that everything that the Most High God created, you rather have man worship the things that He created as opposed to worshiping Him. It's going to explain further, and it reads, I'm at the second verse. It say, "But deem either fire or wind or the swift air." Now, I went into this lesson about 2 weeks ago about how the zodiac signs, how each worship, they worship different elements like wind and things like that. I forgot the one I did because I don't keep up with that. But they keep up with certain elements, like they worship the wind, they worship fire, witches and stuff like that. They do all that stuff. Let me read. It say, "But deem either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars." They're talking about the sun in the daytime and the moon at night. It say, "Or the violent waters." See, that's why the Most High put in Exodus the 20th chapter, "Thou shalt not worship images that's underneath the earth or in the earth." Why? Because He know that man, He know the mindset of man. Man will worship anything instead of giving credence to the Most High God. It say, "Or the violence water, or the lights of heaven," that's talking about the stars in the sky, "to be the gods which govern the world." So now when He mean by the gods that's governing the world, when you read Corinthians chapter 15, I think Corinthians chapter 15 verse 39, and it tell you that He created the celestial beings for the heavens and He created the terrestrial beings for the earth. So when you read the book of Enoch, and I'm going to read that book also to get some information from there. When you read the book of Enoch, it tells you that the celestial beings transformed into these things at the beginning of creation. So when you read Matthew 24, and it say, "The sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light." So these stars, these circles of the stars, they're going to go back into their original form of what they used to be, because when Christ come back to earth, Christ will be the only light that's illuminating at the time of war. Again, let me read. It say, "With whose beauty, if they being delighted, took them to be gods. Let them be known how much better the Lord of them is. For the first author of beauty has created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier He is that made them." So this is what the Most High is saying. Why would y'all want to worship something that don't move, talk, something that don't, it just stand there all day, like this bottle of water, plastic, paper. Satan would make man worship anything, jewelry, all type of mess and stuff like that. So He's saying, why are you worshiping all this stuff, even though that it's gorgeous, but how much glorious is the person that created it? That's what the Most High God is saying. So the reason why I had to get the precepts is because you have to realize that the images are just as evil as the vain thoughts of men. So let's see what else we got. So now, let's go back to Exodus, the 20th, not Exodus, I'm sorry. Let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter. So now, I'm going into the mermaids. You have to understand, in order to know all this information about the mermaids and things like that, you have to have the different records that came along with the Bible. The Bible is an incomplete book. What I mean is, when we was in captivity for 400 years, 300 plus years, or whatever the case may be, give or take, what the Roman Empire did / the Catholic Church, they deemed what was canonical and non-canonical. So that's why I don't go back and forth with people. Why? Because if they did their research, they would know. When you read St. Luke chapter 4 verse 19, it tells you that Christ picked up the book of Isaiah and started reading from it. So if Christ went and picked up the book of Isaiah, but this Bible consists of 66 books, then how did Christ go and pick up the book of Isaiah alone? That proves to you that there was other books, or the Bible wasn't a whole book during the time when Christ was walking the earth. All the books were different. Like when you do your research. Before 1927, the book of Daniel, the book of Job, and the book of Jude, and the book of Revelation, they were not in the Bible at all. Do your research and understand. That's why I don't have arguments with people that say, well, if you're going into the book of Enoch and you're going into the Apocrypha, I don't want you reading out of that book because those books are non-canonical or they're not spiritually inspired. That's the lies that the pastors and the Catholic theologians tell you, so you won't go into the book to find out what gods are they worshiping. That's the whole concept. So if you have somebody telling you that you can't go in certain books, you bring out questions and you say, okay, if you telling me that the Bible is a 100% book, I agree with you that the Bible is a true book. Let's just say that you have somebody that want to know about where did mermaids come from. How could you give them that information? You can't say, well, God created all type of things and stuff like that. That person want to know scripturally. So that's why we have to get out of that whole mindset where I'm just going to stay within the 66 books. As a matter of fact, the book of Job doesn't even belong in the Esther and Psalms. The book of Job does not belong there. Why? Because Job was an Edomite. Edomite is a modern day white man, or shall I say Jewish, Caucasian, same thing. So if Esau was born between Genesis 25 and 25, how can the book of Job be moved along in the Old Testament? That's a good question. So these are some of the things that you can pull out and you can show our people, because it's not the Christian church no more that's lying to us. It's the Israelite camps now that got different doctrines to try to sway you away. I'd rather stay a Christian than to know that I'm an Israelite and still be lied to. At least you still can have a foundation that there's a hell, there's a heaven. You believe in Jesus. So you got some Israelite camp that don't even believe in Jesus. You got some Israelite camp that don't believe in hell. You got some Israelite camps that believe that God and Christ is the same. You might as well just stay a Christian in a pagan church. It's the same exact thing. So let's go back to these books real quick so we can get an understanding. I'm going to read chapter 6 of Genesis, and then I'm going to break down the rest of other books so we can have a common foundation, because I have to give this information to somebody as if they never heard this information before. So, like I said, in the book of Enoch, I'm going to be going into that. So let's start with Genesis chapter 5. Let's start with Genesis. I'm going to get it out the Bible first. And then I'll go to the extra record. So therefore you can question yourself. And then I'll pose questions to make the person that may stumble across this video thought process and say, where is he getting this information from? Okay, I see that he's getting it out of the Bible. I see that he's reading from the Bible. And I see that when he reads these other books, it's verbatim with the Bible. So I'm not going to say that he's lying, because the Most High God may put him here to give us this information. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's start with Genesis chapter 5. No, let's start with Genesis chapter 6, and then I'll go back to 5. I'll work my way on down. I'm at chapter 6. So this is a beginning of how the mermaids came into the world. Genesis chapter 6 is just an overview. It won't go into everything. That's why I have to get the extra records to show you. Let me read. It says Genesis chapter 6 verse 1. And it reads, and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of man, that they were fair. Fair means pretty. And they took them wives of all they chose. So you got the sons of God. So now, this is another scripture that the church try to use to say, well, these was the sons of Seth and the sons of Cain that were doing all type of sin and stuff like that. No. I'm going to break this down. Let's go to Job 1 and 6. I'm not going to spend too much time breaking these concepts or these precepts down, because I want to get right into it. Because I know that my Israelite people, they don't have a long listening span. I know that. Give me one moment. Going to the book of Job. Give me one moment, and then I'll break everything down. So therefore, the only thing that you would have to do is just pray to the Most High to get understanding. Hey, Downer, how you doing? So now, in the book of Job, you have to understand that the angels that came down and slept with the daughters of man, you have to understand that this is what the angels were doing during the time before the flood. So when you go to churches, they won't tell you this story, because they don't even know to a certain extent. When you go to a school or something, they only teach you what they want you to know. But I'm just going to stick in the category of church. Once you start going outside of your church learning, and you start understanding that they're lying to you, then you're going to say, okay, well, what else am I being lied to? So I'm going to the book of Job to get understanding to the people that never heard of this information before, that the angels came down and slept with the daughters of men. And I'm going to break everything down. I'm at Job chapter 1 verse 6. And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. So now you see, it say the sons of God presented themselves before the Lord. We are terrestrial beings. Terrestrial beings are born on the earth. They do not sit or go to heaven to see the Most High God. When you read the book of St. John 5 verse 37, it tells you that you have never heard the voice of God or seen his face. So that's an indication that every man that lived on this earth from the beginning of time never saw the Most High God in person. So when you read these sons of God, these are angels presenting themselves before the Most High God. Let me read. It say, and there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came along among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? That means what? So God asked Satan, where you coming from? And Satan said, from going to and from the earth and to walking up and down from it. So this is a heavenly conversation between Satan and God. God asked Satan, hey man, where you coming from? Satan said, I'm coming to and from the earth. So if Satan said he was coming to and from the earth, where was the conversation being held? At the heavenly realm. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 6 verse 1 so we can get an understanding. So now it say that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they took them, that they were fair. Fair mean pretty. And they took them wives of all they chose. So the angels, they came down and they slept with the women. So that was a sin. They wasn't supposed to do that. Why? Because angels are born to live for immortality. They're not born to go sleep with daughters. They're not born for that. Why? Because we as humans, we have a lifespan. So we need generation after generation to continue our seed in the earth. We are the terrestrial beings. So we need to have children to continue our generation. The angels were created to live forever. They don't need to have children. So it was a sin for them to go down and sleep with these women. They wasn't supposed to do that. Let me read. I'm at Genesis 6 verse 3. And it reads, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with men, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. This is a twofold scriptures. The Most High God is telling Noah that in 120 years, he's going to flood the earth. And this is another indication that the Bible is a true book. Why? Because he's also telling man that I'm going to limit your years to 120 years. Now, there's no other book on this planet that can tell you why men went from living from Adam was. Let's just do a timeline real quick. The wages of sin is death. When you read Romans the 6th chapter, 6 and 23, I believe. So when Adam ate from the tree, that's when the spirit of death came upon him. So before Adam ate that fruit, he was what? Immortal. So when he ate off that fruit, he lost that immortality, and that's when sin came into the world, because the Most High never created man to die, because it started with Adam. So Adam was made to live immortal because of what Satan did. So Satan was thrown down in the earth because when he sinned against the Most High God, when you read, I'm just doing an overview because that's a whole different lesson within itself. When Satan sinned in the first 1,000 years, Satan got threw down on earth. So when Satan got threw down on earth, earth was a prison for him. So God said, okay, let me create Adam. I got to go ahead and create the judge, because Adam was a judge to create. So Adam was a judge to judge Satan. So now somebody might say, well, I don't believe that. Why would the Most High God create heaven? Why did he create Adam? You can't say that he just did it because he wanted to. Everything is done with a purpose. But like I said, that's a whole different lesson, and I don't want to go too far because that's I broke that down. That's like a 3-hour lesson. So I'll just stick to when it says 120 years. So the Most High God got tired of men, but something happened. When the angels came down and slept with the daughters of men, something happened. And this is why the Most High God got mad. Let me read. I'm at Genesis 6 verse 4, and it reads, there were giants in the earth in those days and after that, to let you know that when the flood happened, the Most High killed the giants, but one of them escaped, and they built underground caverns and stuff like that so they can live through the flood. And that's why it say, and after that. Why? Because on the other side of the flood, they survived. when you read the book of Deuteronomy and when you read the book of Exodus, Moses was in a battle with Og. Og was a giant. He was a child from the angels and the woman. So you have to understand that when you read these books, the Most High God, He'll never contradict Himself in the Bible. This is why you have to understand, where did the giants come from? Greek mythology, Clash of the Titans. You have to know that they stole all this from the Bible. But the only reason why that Greek mythology is so heavy in this world, because the Greeks and the Romans are the same people. They're ruling today. That's why you have the zodiac signs and planet Jupiter, which is another name for angels and Satans and all stuff like that. There's no such thing as planets and stuff like that. That's a lie that they tell you to cover up so you can worship these planets and things like that. And there are disguised as fallen angels with different names and stuff like that. But let me get back to it. I don't want to go too far. It say, and there were giants in the earth in those days. And after that, who was that? It say, and there were giants in the earth in those days. And after that, and when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were old men of renown. So when it say men of renown, that means that this is a whole new breed in the earth. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen Attack on Titans. You've seen stuff on TV where these big giants walking around about tall as the sun and stuff like that. All of this stuff happened for real, people. So I have to give a backdrop so you can get an understanding that these angels, they really did come down and sleep with the daughters of men. So now I'm going to get more proof out of the book of Enoch, because the Bible doesn't go into detail what happened before the flood. So when you read Matthew chapter 24, it tells you, as in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. That means that the same way that the Most High God created that flood and wiped out mankind for doing evil, this time when Christ comes, He's going to be that flood and come and kill everybody that's not following the ways of the Most High God. There will be no pity and there will be no mercy for those that's on the side of Satan. That's why you got your whole life to get it right. But those angels that sin, they are right now in hell waiting for their judgment. They're waiting for Christ to come judge them so they can be put in everlasting chains. If you don't believe me, read 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4 or Job chapter 1 verse 6. Let me get a precept about that to prove to you that these angels, what they did was a sin and they're locked up. So we can have an idea about what's going on. I'm in the book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 6, and it reads, and the angels which kept not their first estate. What was their first estate? Heaven. But left their own habitations, He had reserved in everlasting chains unto darkness, unto the judgment of the great day. That great day is during that 1,000-year reign when you read Revelation 21, verse 4, when Christ is going to reign for 1,000 years. When you read 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, it tells you that one day to the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years to the Lord is one day. So one day to the Most High God is 1,000 years. That's how slow time is moving according to the Most High God in heaven. Time is only a necessity on this side. Once you die and you go to Hades or you go to the bosom of Abraham, which is the place for the righteous, time does not exist there. The time only exists on this side of the plane. So now that we have a common concept about the angels really did come down and sleep with the daughters of men. So now I have to go to the person that wrote about this, which was Enoch. Let's go to Genesis chapter 5. I said that I was going to get everything out of the Bible first. And it reads, I'm in Genesis chapter 5, verse 21. And Enoch lived 65 years, and begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. Let me read. I'm at verse 23. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not. So now it's not saying that he walked with God. Why? Because when you read St. John 5 verse 37, Christ said out of his own mouth that no man have seen the Father at any time, nor have you heard his voice. So when it say walk with God, that means that Enoch was so righteous, he was keeping the commandments of God, that the Most High God took him into the heavens. Let me read. It say, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. So where did Enoch go? Where did he go? So I'm going to get more validity out of the New Testament so we can have understanding about what happened to Enoch and why should I go in the book of Enoch? Because I can't just bring that book out and somebody say, well, I ain't never heard of no Enoch. Who is Enoch? I'm at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 5. Now, this is for you ones that say, well, I don't believe in Enoch, so you're going to have to miss me with that. Well, I'm going to break everything down so therefore you can have your own knowledge. Because according to the Bible, everything that's coming out of my mouth and coming out of these books is going to be 100% real. Precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. You have to skip through the Bible to understand the precepts, because the Bible just doesn't pick up in the same chapter. Just like how I just went from Genesis chapter 5 all the way to the New Testament in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews is what? Our forefathers, the records of our forefathers. Let me read. It say, Hebrews 11, verse 5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death. So Enoch didn't go. Didn't die. So let's see what happened to him. And was not found, because God has translated him. That means he did not see death. Before his translation, he had this testimony that pleased God. So if Enoch had a testimony, had a testament, that means that he had records that's somewhere in this earth. If Enoch left the testament that pleased the Most High God, I want to ask the question, where's the book of Enoch? How can I read about Enoch? Where's the testament? What did Enoch do so righteous that the Most High God did not want him to see death? What did Enoch do? Where did Enoch go? This is the book of Enoch. Don't pay attention to the art and things like that, because Enoch was a black man. I don't know why they put this art here, because we don't represent this. Well, I don't represent this image. So now, let's get some more validity out of Enoch, out of his own book where he went. Let's go to the book of Enoch. I'm at Enoch chapter, you know what? Hold on for 1 second. No, I'm going to go here. Let's go to Enoch chapter 39. And it reads, and mercy shall not be according to them, saith the Lord. And in those days, a whirlwind carried me off from the earth. So there go your translation right there. Oh, just like Elias, a horse came down and got him and he rode into heaven. And just like Enoch, a whirlwind came and got him and took him into the heavens and set me down at the ends of the heavens. So we know Enoch is where? In heaven right now. So with this being said, if Enoch is in heaven now, that means Enoch is no longer a terrestrial being now. So I didn't put that in my lesson, but it tell you in the book of Enoch that he transformed. Now, it doesn't go into detail about what he transformed into. But when you read the Bible, when you read Ezekiel, I think Ezekiel chapter 1, it goes into detail. Ezekiel chapter 2, I believe, or chapter 2 or chapter 3, one of those. It goes into details about what the angels look like. So Enoch doesn't go into what he transformed or what he looked like. Why? Because the Jewish people, they created Enoch 2 and 3, and they created Enoch with 200 some eyes and 6 wings and all this stuff like that. So they're giving images to Enoch when the book of Enoch doesn't go into detail about what he even looked like. So now, we just got confirmation out of the book of Enoch that he got translated into heaven. So he did not see death. So now, still sticking to how did the mermaids come about? Because we know that the daughters slept with the angels. So now, let's see. Let me get that first and then I'll go right into it. Let me get it and show you. Enoch 19. So now, we just read Jude 1 and 6 that these angels are in hell, chained in darkness, waiting for their great day. So now, the book of Enoch goes into detail about what the place looked like and where they're going to be at. Because it's in the great day. That means during that 1,000 years, during that 1,000-year reign of Christ, these angels is going to be judged. That's why Paul said, "Ye know not that you judge angels." He said that in Corinthians, I think chapter 6 and 3, I want to say. If not, you can just go to Google and type in, "Ye know not that you judge angels," and you will see the precept will come right up. If you think I'm lying. Because everything that's coming out of my mouth is being recorded right now by the angel that's in this house with me, and it's going straight to the Most High God. If I'm lying, then I would have to deal with that according to the Most High God. But the fact that I know that everything is coming out of the Bible, and I know for a fact that the Bible is a 100% true book, I'm okay. So I ain't got to deal with the punishments of me lying, because I know I'm telling the truth by the grace of the Most High. Enoch chapter 19. And Uriel said to me, "Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women." So same thing in Genesis 6 verse 4. "And their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind." So that means that the angels, when they before they sinned, the angels used to be ministers unto the people. The angels were created to teach us the ways of the Most High God, to show us how to guard, how to work, how to use certain things and stuff like that. But the people started worshiping those angels because the angels were celestial beings. They were doing things that humans wasn't used to. So when they started doing all this type of stuff that we wasn't used to, but on the left-hand side right now, we can only get it through technology. Like when you look at your cell phone, or when you look at certain things that being created, like your TV, for example. When you see like the prophets have a vision, that's a vision that the Most High God is showing them. So TV is, let me just break this down real quick. Satan is a copycat of everything that's in the heavens. When Satan got threw down, Satan can only use the technology that come through man. He give them those ideas that come from the heavenly realm to earth. So let's not go too far, because that's a whole different lesson within itself. It's and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray and sacrifice them to demons as gods. So now, instead of these people, just like I read in Wisdom of Solomon, they worship the wind, they worship the fire and stuff like that, because the angels was teaching them to use magic and use elements of wind, fire, earth, and all that stuff like that. They wasn't supposed to do that. They were supposed to just teach them about the ways of right and wrong and how to stay on a straight path to serve the Most High God. It say, here shall they stand till the day of the great day, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. So Enoch, Jude is quoting the same exact thing in the book of Enoch. So you cannot tell me that the book of Enoch is not real. The book of Enoch is 100% correct. But when you start reading book Enoch 2 and 3 about Enochian magic and Enoch riding on carpets and stuff like that, that's a false doctrine. Because when you read Deuteronomy 18 and 11, all those things about astrology, witchcraft, sorcery, magic, the Most High God is against all that. Let's just say that person came to me with that doctrine saying that book 2 and 3 is correct. Enoch was translated into the heaven because he was so righteous. So if Enoch was playing with magic and dealing with all witchcraft and sorcery and astrology and stuff like that, then why did he get translated into the heavens? That's a lie right there. Let me read. It say, and the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. So when you look at that word sirens, it translates into mermaids. So you do have mermaids that's in the bottom of the sea. That's your origins of mermaids. Because when these women, so let me just go to what happened and what lured the angels into sleeping with the daughters. Into sleeping with these angels. Let me get give me one moment. The book of Reuben. So now I wrote all this down page by page. So therefore you can have a common denominator of Reuben, our forefather, the 12 patriarchs. You can go get this book at eBay or Amazon, or you can just Google it and you can just read, and you can see that Reuben had the same information that Enoch is quoting from. So I'm in the book of Reuben, chapter 2, paragraph 6. So now for those of you who don't know Reuben, you can just read the book of Genesis. Reuben was cursed by the Most High God because Jacob, our father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he had a wife. So what Reuben did, he saw her naked and went and slept with her while she was drunk. So now you can go to the book of Genesis and you can find this information about what happened. So let me read the book of Reuben so you can have an understanding why. Because like I said, precept upon precept, precept upon precept. The Most High got everything scattered out. So therefore, the wicked ones can't go through and just get the marking and changing everything. Let me read. It say, this is why you have to understand why the Most High God tell women to put on clothes and behave yourself. I'm going to break down all that information. But we now know that the Bible deal with sirens or mermaids. So the mermaids are where? In the water. This is why when you look at your Starbucks, when you look at that woman, she got the crown on her head. The 5 crowns represent the Baphomet, which is Satan, which is the 5-pointed star. And when you look at her, you can just Google the image. Google Starbucks original image, and you can look at the today's image. When you look at that fork, it looked like a fork, but those are the fins of The mermaids. Modern day time, when you see mermaids now, they have like a whole fin. But the original mermaid got two fins. They got two fins. So they split like that, stop, and then they go up with like two triangles. So the fin was split in two. So what Starbucks do, so this is why you have to understand that these people do not put the images up because they want to. They put the images up because they worship Satan wholeheartedly. That's how they get their power. This is how Satan make these people rich. Satan said, okay, if you want riches, power, if you want wealth, you would have to put this image up. If you want this money, you got to put this up. So this is how Satan do it. You got to sell your soul to Satan. All these corporations, when you look at McDonald's got the M. But when you look at the M upside down, it's the Greek letter for what? God of war. Alpha and Omega. Omega is the W. Same exact thing. That's why when you look at the alphabets in Old English, there was no such thing as W. That's why it say W. That's why it was the U first. After U, it skipped the W, then it go to V, Y, X, Z. So when you look at the alphabets, people, it's a spinoff from Greek. So instead of U, that's why it say W. There was no such thing as a W. They put, when they started coming out with Old English and modern English, that's when the alphabet W was placed in the original 26 alphabets that you see right now today. There was no letter J. There was no letter, trying to think. There was no letter W. I know for a fact. And I'm just going to stick to those two. There was no letter J. There was no letter I. There was no letter W. So when you look at W, that's the Greek symbol for Omega. That's why when you look at McDonald's and you flip the can, and you flip the logo upside down, that logo is Omega. When you look at the Monster can, it looked like an M, but when you flip it upside down, 666. And we know that 666, when you look at the letter 6 in the Hebrew, in the Monster can, it's 666. It's the image of a man. So when you look at the image of a man, you got 2 hands, 2 feet, 1 head, 1 private part, 666. So the Most High God, you can't even do certain sign languages now because everything is incorporated into Satanism, like the OK sign. You got the young thugs out here doing the OK symbol, doing the I don't even want to do the symbol because that's already frustrating, even just talking about the symbols and stuff like that. The all-seeing eye that's on your dollar bill, the masonries with the pyramids and stuff like that. All of that stuff is good and evil. The pyramid going up and the pyramid going down. You got 3 sides. You got 3 sides. 666. All that is Satan. So 666, the pyramid facing up and the pyramid facing down, it's the same thing as chakra with Buddha, which is yin and yang, negative and positive. Negative and positive. All of that stems from the tree of life, which is good and evil. So there's nothing new under the sun. Satan wants everything to be incorporated into him. So now, let's go to the book of Reuben so we can get some understanding about why the angels came down and why they was enticed by these women. This is why Paul went in on the women, because they were dressing like this back during this time. That's why Paul said, be modest. I'm going to break that down. Give me one moment. I'm in the book of Reuben, chapter 2, paragraph 6. A woman cannot rape a man openly, but through a prostitution appearance, she beguiles him. That means that, so Reuben is talking about this because Reuben know that when he walked in on Jacob's wife, she was drunk and she had her clothes off and stuff like that, but she didn't have no idea what was going on. Reuben had the eyes of adultery. That's why when you read Matthew 25, Christ said, if you look upon a woman, you have committed adultery. Why did Christ state that? Why did Christ say that? Because somebody must have did it in the Old Testament. That's why he said, it was said in the Old Testament that you should not commit adultery. So Christ put more emphasis on it and said that if you look upon a woman, you have already committed adultery. Why? Because when you look at a woman, you're not thinking about, oh, she has a pretty dress on her, she has a pretty hair. You're looking at that woman as sex appeal. You're looking through her because you want to have sex with this woman. So you've already committed adultery in your heart. That's where the sin come in at. Reuben is going to talk about this because he was one of the ones that went through what Christ was explaining in Matthew chapter 25. So you see how everything is lining up? So nothing out of my mouth I'm saying, I'm not lying about it. The only thing that you have to do is just listen, or you can go to Google and Google these precepts and everything will show up. One thing about Google, when you search the correct information in Google, it'll pop up. But if you don't know what you're searching for, Google can throw you for a loop and have you looking all over the place, because Google now, you have to be precise when you're looking for things. Just like when you read Hosea 2 verse 16, when it tell you Christ's real name is Yeshua. But when you go to Google, it'll tell you that his name is not Yeshua. So you rather believe Google or you rather believe what the Bible say. So that's how Google throw you for a loop. So Google sometimes can be evil and Google sometimes can be good. You just have to eat the fish and spit out the bones. Take what's good and just leave it at that. Let me read. It say, a woman cannot rape a man openly, but through a prostitution appearance, she beguiles him. That means that a man looking. Therefore, flee from fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters that they adore their head and faces to deceive the mind. So that means cover your body up. Don't wear yoga pants and stuff like that. Don't have your hair looking so pretty to the point till that's what a man see, and now a man is with you because that's what he saw. Instead of that man having a conversation with you, you beguiled him and having on things that look good according to the body, and now he don't want you for your mindset. He looking at you because of your body. That's what Christ was talking about in Matthew 25. If you look upon a woman, you have committed already adultery. Why? Because when you're looking at that woman, they got those yoga plans on, the first thing come to your mind is, I want to hit that. So you have to be weary when you think about, you have to not be weary when you think about things like that and just turn your other way and just going on about your business, because that's how Satan works. Let me read. It say, because every woman who uses these wiles will become eternally punished. So now, he said that if a woman is using this to get men, that's why he said that a woman cannot openly rape a man. That's why when you have women out here that dress like that, they want attention. My wife don't dress like that. My daughter, when she get older, she won't dress like that. Well, somebody might say, well, you can't stop your daughter when she get older and she be in society and she see all that and she want to dress like that. But I'm gonna raise her young, so when she get to the point when she's able to think and she already got this information ahead, then the choice is on her. This is why it's not good to wear stuff like that, because that's why you see rapists when they rape a woman. Now, I'm not giving credence to the rapist. I'm just saying that you gave that man something to look at because you had those clothes on. Now, had you would have been modest and had on something, you wouldn't have gave that rapist that mindset. He would have looked at you and gone on about your business. But the fact that you had on something that was appeasing to the eye, he looked back twice. So if he looked the first time, he didn't see that you had that on. Why? Because you don't dress like that. Let me read. It say, they allure the watchers. Now, when you look at the watchers, that's the same thing as the angels that was in heaven. They allured the watchers. That means that they was doing it on purpose. Who were before the flood. So Reuben also had information about the fallen angels and what they did. So how did Reuben know this information? He must have been reading the book of Genesis, reading the book of Jubilees, and reading the book of Enoch. So if Reuben is reading this information, we know that the book of Enoch must be true. Let me read. It say, for as these continually saw them, they lusted after them, and they conceived the act in their mind. So you see, the angels had the same concept. I bit my tongue. The angels had the same concept that Christ was breaking down in Matthew 25. Christ did not say that for no reason. Christ knew what he was saying when he said, don't look at a woman with your mindset of wanting to have sex with her, because he know. So Christ said, okay, men, you do your part and don't look at a woman for that sex appeal about what she got on. So Reuben already went into detail about how a woman should dress and what not to do. And Paul is going to go into detail too. It say they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For as these continually saw them, they lusted after them, and they conceived the act in their mind, and they changed themselves into the shape of men, and it appeared to them when they were with their husbands. So you see, when you read the book of Jubilees, it says the same exact thing, that the angels transform into their husbands, because the angels can take form of bears, all type of animals, and everything like that. So the angels can transform, but they transform into the husbands of the wives. Let me read. It say the women lusted in their minds after their forms. So the angels looked 20 times better than their husband. Good clothes, had looking good, had on their riches and stuff like that. So the angels knew what was appealing to the eyes of a woman instead of the mindset, and gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them, reaching even to the sky. So Reuben is giving more credence to the book of Genesis chapter 6. So now we know, how did mermaids come about? We know why, because the women didn't have on clothes. So now let's go to the New Testament. Let's go to Timothy, and then we're going to wrap this up. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. First Timothy chapter 2, verse 8, and it reads, I would therefore that man pray everywhere. So now, when it say this, it's not speaking about you drop down on your knees and pray in front of people. That's what the Muslims do. When you read Matthew chapter 6, Christ tell you that when you pray, you go in the closet, you close the room, and you pray to the Most High alone. Christ said, don't be like the hypocrites and pray in front of people, because they have their reward, which is being. They want people to see them holy. Like the Catholic Church, how you see people be sitting in church just praying and stuff like that. You're not supposed to do that. Proving to you that these people not reading the Bible. Let me read. It say, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubtfully. That means that let me tell you why he said that. It say, I'm going to start at the 4th verse. Who will have all men to be saved and to come unto the knowledge of the truth. So he said, when you come into the knowledge of the truth, You should know how to behave yourself. I'm not talking about the church truth. I don't know what they got going on in there. I'm talking about when you learn the true doctrine of the Most High. I'm not talking about fighting with your brother and sister when you put scriptures out on the table. You do things modest. Don't raise your voice with people, just like I'm bringing this information right now. They might say, well, I don't believe nothing you saying. You screaming and you hooping and hollering and stuff like that. Okay, let's say hypothetically that I am hooping and hollering. You can't take away that the scriptures that I'm bringing forward is correct. So you have sometimes people that will try to use your tone to say, well, I don't think you're telling the truth. But they use that as an escape route not to listen to what you're talking about, even though you are telling the truth. So I said that. Let me read and then I'll break it down. Let's go back to 8 and then I'll break it down. It's a lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. That means when you go out and you teach this word, don't have any doubt about what you got a topic of. Now, you might be strong in certain points of the Bible. Me, myself, personally, I'm not strong when it comes to Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. And I can't remember scripture offhand when it's dealing with Proverbs in the book of Wisdom of Solomon or Ecclesiastes and stuff like that. But when it comes down to breaking down these doctrines and knowing the validity of the entire Bible and what Christ did, the doctrine, I can discern what's true and what's false. I'm grade A. I'm grade A good in that. Grade A, I'm not boasting, but that's where my strong point at that lies with the Holy Spirit. I can break down any false doctrine that's before me. I can break it down instantly. That's the strong point that the Most High gave me. Let me read. It say, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel. So Paul is talking about the same exact thing that Reuben is talking about. So why is Paul telling the women in the church not to dress like that? Because of what happened in the flood. So now let me stop right there. So this is why women do not have authority over the churches and women are not allowed to preach. When you read 1 Corinthians 14:33, it tells you that the Most High God is not the author of confusion, but of peace of the but of peace of the saints of the churches. Then when you read the 34th verse, it tells you that let your women stay silent in the churches, for it's not permitted unto her to speak. If she has a question, she should ask her husband and learn in silence, in subjection. So that's not knocking the women saying that she can't teach them like that, but you can't do it when you have people watching you and looking at you as an assertive authority. If the Most High God would have had women preaching the word, he would have had somebody in the disciples. Well, the only thing that people bring up is Deborah. Deborah said when you read, what was that? I can't think of the book right now. But Deborah said, and you can quote me and you can go back and Google it too. Deborah said, my heart is pointed towards the government of the Most High. The government of the Most High is the flock of men when you read Jeremiah 3 verse 15. When the churches is set up by men and the pastors are men. So Deborah said that my heart is pointed towards the men. Deborah is letting you know that I fall up under the men that teach the church of the Most High. I'm not asserting authority. Let me read. It say, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefulness and servility, not with broad hair or gold or pearls or costly array. So he's saying when you going somewhere, he's not telling y'all that don't look good. Paul is saying don't be like the Egyptians. Don't get to the point where you look so good that people notice your hair blinging all over the place. People noticing your figure and your clothes and your yoga pants and stuff and your body shape before they even get a chance to look at your face and look at and have a conversation with you. And then he said, and be shamefaced. That means that a woman supposed to be shamefaced and not even looking another man in the face when she with her husband, or anyway, she looked down. That's not being disrespectful or something like that. That's just how the women's supposed to act accordingly, because that's what happened before the flood. Women wasn't obeying God, so they went astray and they started wearing half-naked clothes, and the angels came down and started sleeping with them. So it was their fault and it was the angels' fault. But the angels had more. The angels supposedly had more sense not to do that. So the Most High sent the angels to minister to the people, and the people end up sinning against the Most High. And the angel end up start sinning against the Most High God. It say, I'm at the 10th verse, but women professing godliness with good works. So that means you do everything in modesty of the Most High God. It say, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to assert authority over the man, but to be in silence. That's not saying that a man telling a woman, you be quiet, don't speak when I talk. It's not talking about that. And if anybody had a sense how Christ walked the earth, you would know that that's not even what that's talking about. That's talking about a woman not having a congregation over the man. If a man is running a business, they should be able to see the man first. And I'm just going to stick to the church. A woman should not be in the pulpit and she being looked at. Her pastor or the husband should be looked at as the forerunner, and she should learn in subjection. Nothing wrong with that. Why? Let me get the scripture real quick. Let me go to the book of Ecclesiastes to prove to you why that happened. Let me read this first. So therefore you can have let me go ahead and get this first. Ecclesiasticus 9 and 9. No, not 9 and 9. Ecclesiasticus 25 and 24. And it reads, of the women came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. So now, why did Solomon write that? Solomon wrote that because the same thing, not in nakedness, and not, but because the reason why women cannot teach is because when the serpent beguiled Eve, Eve had more information. Eve had more information than Adam. So that means she now had the information to go back and deceive Adam, because Adam did not know the game at that time. That's just like when you playing basketball, somebody that never played basketball before, and you've been playing for 30 and 40 years or whatever the case. I'm just throwing a number out there. You know what to do out there. That person that have no concept of playing basketball, you're going to win every time. So when you look at Eve, Eve had more knowledge than Adam to make him sin against the Most High God. So this is where Solomon went all the way back to Adam and Eve, and Paul is now giving credence about why a woman could not teach in the church. Because when Eve was teaching Adam, she set him up to sin. Let me read. It say, for Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. See, the woman was deceived. So the same thing that Paul just said is what Solomon said 2,000 to 3,000 years ago before Paul's time. So you see how all these precepts lining up? Everything is verbatim. Everything is good. Let me see if I read everything. Let me see if I got everything real quick. So we now know that Starbucks is a representation of the fallen angels, the giants, and they slept with the daughters of men, and the daughters became mermaids. So yes, mermaids are real. Because one thing about Satan, so now when you see mermaids and all that stuff like that, that's a deception to throw you off, to let you know that there's no such thing as a merman in the Bible. There are mermaids, and what's the woman name? I mean, not the woman name, but in Greek they're called sirens. You should get a chance to look at some of these shows that come out about how these sailors be going out and they hear things and they get killed and they hear songs and stuff like that. You should watch some of these shows about what this stuff happened. This stuff is actually true. But they lie to you and cover it up. But when you read this stuff in the Bible, it makes 100% true sense. I think that's it, people. I don't want to go too far. I'll just stick to that. But Starbucks is a representation of Satan. So, like I said, in Wisdom and Solomon, they rather worship creatures, fire, wind, all types of stuff. That's what they do. I think that's it, people. I think that's it. I appreciate for the people that came in. I got other stuff coming. I'll post it later to let you know what I'm going to do a lesson on. Thank you, and I appreciate it. And once I get better equipment and stuff like that, I have pictures, a better background and stuff like that. So you can just have just a good setting when you watching things like that. But I won't do things too extravagant because I don't want to take away from the word. Truth be told, I can just do this. But I just know that, it's good to have things like that so people can look and see, okay, he got like a nice background going on and stuff like that. Just things of that nature. I appreciate you for tuning in. Take care, people.